In the foundation level apprenticeship, you will be expected to learn how to effectively solder and make taps and joints. In the field, you may also run into an occasion where you need to solder stranded conductors. This is a tutorial on soldering. First thing you're going to need to do is to set up your workspace. You're going to need to be in a well-ventilated area and be wearing eye protection so that you don't get any solder or bits in your eyes. First, we are going to do tinning a stranded conductor. It needs to be long enough so that we can make a 3/4 inch turn around a screw. And we are going to want to twist the conductor together and then place the workpiece onto the soldering iron so that it's going to heat up. This may take a few moments, so you'll have to be patient. We are going to be using solder with flux inside of it. If you have solder that doesn't have flux inside of it, you will need to buy that separately. Once your workpiece is heated up, we are going to put a little bead of solder underneath of the workpiece, set it back on top, and allow the solder to melt on top of the workpiece. If it's not melting, that means you haven't let it heat up long enough. So next we are going to splice 2 conductors together. So we're going to use solid wire for this one. We're going to take our 2 conductors, matching up the insulation, and then using our linesman's pliers, make our splice. We want to make sure that we have about 5 wraps. And then we're going to set our splice onto the soldering iron, allowing it to heat up. While it's heating up, we can move on to our next splice, which is a tap joint. To do a tap joint, you need 2 pieces of wire, one with the insulation removed from the middle, and the other a nice long, about 4 or 5 inches of insulation taken off. The best way to get the insulation off the middle is to first take it off of the end. Then we can go into the middle and slide that insulation to the end, leaving our exposed conductor in the middle. Next, we're going to take our 2 pieces and make a little cross. We're going to hold that cross with our needle nose pliers so that it doesn't slip while we are making the splice. So you're going to take your conductor, wrapping it around the other one. You want to make these wraps nice and tight. You must have 6 wraps. Once you have your 6 wraps, you can cut off the end and finish it off with your linesman's pliers, because this is going to poke and hurt your fingers. If you have any gaps, you can tighten those together by using either your needle nose or your linesman's pliers. Now our other piece is ready. Again, we are going to put a bead of solder underneath, lay the workpiece back on, and cover it completely with the solder. Once it's completely covered, we can set it aside. At this point, we may want to clean off our soldering iron as it is now covered with a bunch of solder and flux. And we will do this using our wet cloth. Now we can put our tap joint onto the soldering iron, allowing it to heat up. While we're waiting for that one to heat up, we can move on to our Western Union splice. For this splice, we are going to need 2 pieces of solid conductor, stripped about 3 or 4 inches on the end. We're going to take these 2 conductors and make a cross in the middle, holding it with your needle nose pliers. We're going to take the one conductor and wrap it around the other one. Again, making sure that our wraps are nice and tight. Once we have our 5 wraps, we can cut the end and finish it off. If we have any gaps, again, you can use either your linesman's or your needle nose pliers to tighten that up. Now we're ready for the other side. So we're going to wrap the other side the opposite way of the first side. Again, if you have any gaps in there, we can close those up with your pliers. Now our tap joint is heated up and ready to solder. Once it's heated up enough, we're going to put a bead on the soldering iron and then run the solder over the entire splice to coat it. And put on our final workpiece. Now that our workpiece is hot enough, we can solder this one. We're going to place some solder on the soldering iron and then run it over top to completely coat the piece. Now that we're done, we can set this aside to cool. This was a demonstration on soldering.